Today on NewsTeam Boulder, how stigmas about mental health affect sports. How injuries forced a CU rugby player to find a new love for the game. And an inside look at the work of a Ralphie runner. That and so much more on today's edition of NewsTeam Boulder. Hello and welcome to this March 22nd sports edition of NewsTeam Boulder. I'm Mimi Herrick. Sports are not just a physical game, but rather a mental game as well. NewsTeam's Taylor Levine has more about ending mental health stigmas within sports.
Something as simple as a ball can end up defining someone's entire identity. For Haley Endler, soccer was her entire life growing up.
Oh, I got it. Whoa. So it was just going from school to study to soccer, and that was my day every single day for like 3 years.
Endler was a standout player, receiving a D1 offer to play in college. It was her dream to one day go pro. However, she decided to leave the game.
It was like my outlet when anything was stressing me out or if I was upset. But after a while, it became something that didn't make me very happy anymore.
But even with the crazy pressures and mental tolls that playing at such a high level caused for Endler, she still had to wonder,
how can I quit? Because who am I without soccer? I didn't really know what to do without it.
This is a common question for athletes whose sport becomes their identity, but seeking help after these concerns arise is something not talked about enough within the sports community.
I mean, there's been times where my coaches yelled at me and I wanted to go cry, but I couldn't do that because then he'd think I'm just a little wimp.
This is because of stigmas surrounding not showing emotion in sports, oftentimes causing these athletes to hide these very real mental health and illness struggles that they have been having and continue playing rather than taking a seat on the sidelines when necessary.
I had a lot of pressure on my plate when the team wasn't specifically doing well. I felt a lot of pressure.
Nick DePonio is the captain of CU Boulder's men's D2 hockey club team, and after being around the sport for so long, has seen what not addressing these stigmas can do to players' mental health.
Men are more likely than not to not talk about those specific things because of the stigma around being tough. A lot of guys push it under the rug, and that's where it starts to really get dangerous, is when they bottle it in.
The Buffs are helping erase the stigma surrounding mental health, and it starts with a sticker on the back of their helmets.
We all wear the BTR sticker. It's gotten around to all the teams that we play against, and it's an awesome message that they're doing. It's really important to talk about.
BTR, or Brought to Reality, is a clothing line started by DePonio's former high school teammate, Nick Bales, and has since grown into a larger message about ending the stigmas around mental health. The stickers are not just a logo, but a message to players that they are not alone in their mental struggles, and that getting help is the answer, not harmful alternatives.
They may not be willing to talk about it today or tomorrow, but at some point they have that reminder that it's real. And to get better, you have to have that discussion.
Getting help and starting the conversation is the first steps in ending these stigmas, and that is exactly what BTR aims to do.
All we want to do is just make a difference and help kids know that, suicide is not the answer. You have a life ahead of you that is so worth living, and you just got to get through your bad, difficult times.
For NewsTeam Boulder, I'm Taylor Levine.
If you or anyone you know are struggling with mental health related issues, please know there is help available. Follow BTR on Instagram at BTR Clothing to support ending the stigma. When we come back, we'll tell you about a CU student's journey through a rugby injury. Here are some Colorado sports events and stories to look out for this week. CU's women's basketball team has advanced to the Sweet 16 of the Women's NCAA tournament after an upset victory over 13th-ranked Duke on Monday. This is the first time the women's team has made the Sweet 16 since 2003. They will play Iowa on Friday, March 24th. The Denver Broncos have made plenty of moves in the first week of free agency. They signed Jared Stidham to a 2-year, $10 million contract to be the backup quarterback for Russell Wilson. On top of that, they re-signed veteran linebacker Alex Singleton to a 3-year, $18 million contract. Lastly, they signed former Arizona Cardinals defensive lineman Zach Allen to a 3-year, $46 million deal. And the Buffs football team has held its first practice with Deion Sanders as head coach on Sunday. Although the entire staff and many of the players on the team are new to CU, according to Coach Prime, the practice went well. The Buffs football team will hold the only nationally televised spring game this year on April 22nd, but Sanders said there's still a lot of work to be done. If you're looking to spend your spring break on the ice, it looks like you're out of luck, as the Rec Center will have limited hours over spring break. NewsTeam Boulder's Jada Rodriguez has more on that.
Things at the rec might look a little bit different this spring break with limited hours and facility availability. But if you're still looking to get your pump in, don't worry, because you will still have access to most of the facility's basic amenities. And you might even get to take a dip in the buff pool.
So of course our hours are more limited. So we will be open from 10 a.m. to 9 p.m. on weekends, and then 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. on weekdays. So just a little later in the mornings, a little bit way earlier to close in the night. You know, it's to make sure that all of our staff can have their own spring break as well. Something that's definitely going to be coming is the buff pool. Buff pool should be opening over spring break, so that will be cool. Of course, weather depending. If the sun's out, buff deck will be open. If it's warm enough, the pool itself will be open. So 9 a.m. to 8 p.m.
The Rec Center spring break hours will start March 24th and extend through April 2nd, returning to normal hours of operation April 3rd. Back to you, Mimi.
If you've ever seen a rugby game, then you know that injuries are very common. NewsTeam's Angus Skinner explores the story of a CU rugby player who used his injury to discover a newfound passion for the game.
Dylan Ginsberg is a senior at the University of Colorado Boulder and a starter on the number 12 ranked CU rugby team. Dylan had his breakout season in 2022, scoring 9 tries in only 7 games, including 4 tries in a single match against Wyoming. Using his exceptional pace and acceleration, Dylan burned past anyone in his way. With only 1 game left, Dylan hoped to end the fall season on a high note.
It was a big game, but we knew we could beat them.
But with only 20 minutes to go, he fell awkwardly on his wrist.
Had a distal radius fracture on my right wrist. It felt horrible. I didn't know what to do.
Despite the unfortunate injury, things were looking up for Dylan.
My initial reaction was like, it sucks, but it's not too bad. The doctor told me a broken wrist would only be at most like 2 months for the bone to completely heal, and then another couple of weeks for recovery. As far as rugby goes, I was like, I'll be back, my wrist will be fine.
And then the unthinkable happened.
Probably like 3 days after the PT doc told me that I was done doing PT, I was like carrying a glass and I heard like a pop. It kind of felt like I was popping, like cracking a knuckle or something. But then all of a sudden I couldn't extend my thumb. And I call up my like surgery doc and she's like, yeah, the tendon that goes over the metal plate that we put in for your initial broken wrist kind of got like rubbed against and caused it to snap, caused the tendon in your thumb to snap. So then had to get another surgery.
And just like that, Dylan's hopes to play rugby in the spring were gone. But little did he know that this terrible situation would result in a newfound passion.
You know, I started coming to practices a bit more, and I kind of found that I like, you know, like at least if I can't play, I can help teach people to play the game, and so I kind of found coaching.
So Dylan put down his cleats, picked up his whistle, and began his coaching journey.
You get to help someone else achieve what they want to do, and it's, you know, it feels good. It's heartwarming, and it's good to just see boys that need help, and especially at CU, you know, this isn't like a huge program. We're not getting funded all this money, and sometimes kids are just lost and they don't really know what to do. So it's good to, you know, just help out any way I can, really.
Reporting for NewsTeam Boulder, I'm Angus Skinner.
After the break, Nate Schaefer will give you an update on this week's weather, and later, Piper Vaughn will give us the inside scoop on what it's like to be a Ralphie runner. We'll be right back.
Hey Buffs, I hope you all had a great start to the week. Now let's get started on what I know you're here all for, the weather. Looking at the 4-day forecast for the rest of the week, we can see that Wednesday will be a little bit snowy with a high of 50 and a low of 26. Thursday, we're going to be seeing mostly sun with a high of 51 and a low of 26. Friday, we'll be seeing partially cloudy conditions with a high of 50 and a low of 24. And as we move into the weekend and on Saturday, it's going to be sitting at a high of 44 and a low of 37. Moving into the Colorado weather for the week, we can see that in the western part of Colorado, it is still colder with some snowy conditions. And as we move further east, it's continuing to get warmer. Boulder is sitting here at about 57 degrees, and Denver will be sitting at about 60. Nationally, there's a high pressure system headed towards us that'll be leading to some drier conditions, and as we move east, we see that there is a higher chance of rain and thunderstorms due to a low pressure system moving through the Midwest. And for all of you out there who are planning on hitting the slopes in the coming days, Copper Mountain will be sitting at about 56 inches of machine-groomed powder. A Basin will be sitting at about 64 inches of machine-groomed powder. Breckenridge will be sitting at about 60 inches, and Vail will be sitting at about 74 inches of machine-groomed powder. All right, that's all the time we have for weather today. Stay tuned, where after the break, we'll take a look into one of the greatest traditions in sports and the students who make it happen. We'll be right back.
If there's one thing that everyone loves at CU, it's the Ralphie Run before every football game. But as much as it's about our amazing mascot, it's also about those who make the run work so well. NewsTeam Boulder's Piper Vaughn has more.
Here comes Ralphie!
Wes Weber's passion for Ralphie started years ago when he dreamt about being on the field ever since he was a kid. But Wes wasn't dreaming about the football team. He wanted to be a Ralphie runner.
It was kind of a lifelong childhood dream. My first game day run was actually Ralphie Six's first game day run. Ember was very personable from being a baby. She was, her mother abandoned her, so she was raised by humans. We do our best to make it look easy, and we do our best to make it look clean and uneventful, and like we're supposed to do, but behind that, it's hours and hours of hard work.
Ralphie is a lot of work on the field, but especially off the field, and gets frequent visitors from her handlers, which she loves.
When we come out to the ranch, she's quite personable. She kind of recognizes you when you come out and has quite a good personality. When you leave the ranch, she also likes to run along and say bye. So she's awesome.
Here at Folsom Field is where all the fun happens, with the Ralphie handlers getting ready to run Ralphie for her first game, Black and Gold Day. Nothing gets better than this. The lights, the music, and most importantly, the CU Boulder fans.
Director of Athletic Communications, Curtis Snyder, says that it's all about the relationship that the handlers have with Ralphie that makes this legacy even more special.
Ralphie gets to know them to the point where there's enough trust that she trusts them to, she has every bit of every tradition that we have within athletics. And I think it expands far beyond the campus into all of college football and even all of sports. I think it's one of the greatest traditions in all of sports.
Years later, and now looking back on his experience as a Ralphie runner, it is one that Wes Weber will remember forever.
I would say I have to pinch myself. It's kind of cliche, but there isn't really a day that goes by where I have taken it for granted. I feel very lucky, and it's nice to have a connection like that with a Buffalo like that. And she's obviously the star of the show, and so many people love her. And we all love her, but it's really cool to be able to have that kind of one-on-one connection with her, when we're not on game day and we're just kind of hanging with her at the ranch or we're in the trailer or anything. It's a great, it's great memories that I'll have for a long time.
Run, Ralphie, run will be a phrase that all of CU will continue to chant for the tradition of the iconic Buffalo running at Folsom Field. Piper Vaughn, NewsTeam Boulder.
That's all the time we have for today. Please join us on Friday, March 24th for another edition of NewsTeam Boulder. Don't forget to follow us on YouTube and Instagram at NewsTeam Boulder. Thank you and have a great rest of your week.